Well, when I got to Vietnam, I literally expected to be welcomed with open arms by the people of Vietnam. I had in my head the black and white newsreels I had seen on the Walter Cronkite 20th Century show of the American troops rolling through villages in France and being showered with wine and flowers and kisses. And as we were driving down, a guy from the battalion I was assigned to picked me up in a Jeep at Da Nang, and we had to drive the 20 miles to where my battalion was located, and I really was disappointed that there weren't people standing along the road waving to me and, you know, offering me flowers and things. I really expected to be greeted with open arms as a liberator, and it was as though I was invisible, as though I didn't exist. And that was a little perplexing. Moreover, they looked funny, and they acted funny. I mean, just riding along in this Jeep the first day I got there. They lived in little straw huts, and they had animals in their backyards, and they weren't like us. They smelled bad. The whole country smelled bad. You could smell it. It hurt the nose. And that was disturbing. And then I was there for on the third day I was there, this guy who had picked me up in the Jeep, a corporal who I was ultimately going to replace, he and I were in the battalion intelligence section. We were sent down to the tractor park, the amphibious tractor park, to meet a bunch of detainees. It was our responsibility to take care of prisoners, and detainees were a classification of civilians. They were not combatants. They could be detained for questioning, which is why they were called detainees. And Jimmy and I went down there to the track park, and 2 tractors came in. They had a whole bunch of Vietnamese up on top. High, flat-topped vehicles, about 8 or 9 feet tall. And as the tracks wheeled into the park, the Marines up on top immediately began hurling these people off. They were bound hand and foot, so that they had no way of breaking their falls. And they were old men, women, children, no young men.
Well, that makes you wonder, doesn't it?
A lot of them were glad we were there. A lot of them hated me. Most of them thought that if you were an American, you owed them something. And I think we do owe them something. We owe them the right to live.
So if they had their way, I think that a lot of those people are peasant people. They're ignorant. They're going to go the way that the country offers them the most.
Yeah.
So perhaps they would go communistic.
That would be their
But
choice, though, would it not?
as Jake said, yes, it would be their choice, yes. But we're trying to save them from this.
The only people that would suffer a bloodbath would be Chu and Key and all these people like that. But they'll never suffer, you see, because when they lose, they're going to take off to Switzerland and live off all the money they've been hoarding away the last 10 years. They'll never get touched. I think an 18-year-old owes something to this country, to serve.
We had something to fight for in World War II. And you had nobody that wouldn't volunteer. Very few wouldn't volunteer.
I wouldn't mind, I don't think, serving my time in the Army for the country, because I think the country's given me a lot of things, and it's given me a chance to go to school. I had to work through school, but it gave me a chance to at least go. But I don't know, I think I'd really sort of worry about going over to Vietnam, because I hate to fight somebody else's war.
You had World War II, you had Korea, now you've got this. After this, you're going to go to the East.
What?
Every 10 years, this country has to have a war.
What brings employment?
So many people have to die, and it's a dirty shame.
It's your politicians, too, that have to take a good portion of this blame. Because I think there's a lot of them that get a certain percentage of these defense contracts and things that go out. And I think there are a lot of politicians that are involved in this, and they get their cut, and this is what's just prolonging everything.
To see somebody come back who's 19, and you don't know what kind of future he's going to have, you know, you kind of wonder, is it all worth it? And, well, I'm 20 right now, so my whole age group, is likely to end up there. And I'd just like to see it ended, and I can't give an answer how.
I got hit by a piece of General Motors shrapnel, from an 81 mortar. They dug it out of my leg and it said GM and it had the numbers on it and everything, So General Motors is making mortars, man. That's what else can I tell you? They're making money. That's what it's all about. Like they're supposed to be making cars.
I'm saying if our government didn't spend so much money on other nations, giving them aid, giving them everything we have, we'd be better off because we could spend our money on poverty. We could clean up the cities.
Why do we have to be the policemen of the world? What about our allies, so-called allies? What are they contributing towards it?
I mean, I don't make the policy. Somebody better than us makes the policy. But, or somebody that should be more in the know makes the policy. But I hope they know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing, we're in trouble.
We were brought up to never question authority. Isn't that true? People of our age group. And the government was right, and the policeman was right, and the priest was right, and mom and dad were right. The school board was right. Anybody that was in authority knew what was best and how we should think, and they told us how to think.
But I never told my dad he was crazy.
Shouldn't I let my government know that I think they're crazy? I think they are insane, really. This is an insane thing we're doing tonight.
How will you say it?
Well, how should I say it?
In a proper manner.
There's a lot of things I don't like, but I don't go throwing bombs in place. I didn't like school when I was going to school. The teacher's sister over in the school slapped my hand one day, but I didn't go out and throw a bomb in the hallway and blow the school all over the intersection. I just went home and told my father, and then he gave me a couple more whacks.
If you want to complain because you don't want to go to war, go vote.
When you go vote,
you want.
Why? What's the reason for voting? What's the idea of voting? If you say there's going to be a war every 10 years, what good is your vote going to do if there's going to be a war every 10 years?
I didn't raise a kid to go 16,000 miles to fight for somebody else, somebody that you probably never see again. And I don't blame them if they don't want to go.
So many people get it wrong. You have to understand that there's a definite difference between the country and the government. You see, the people in this country aren't fighting a Vietnam War. The government's fighting it.